I am here at the Cycle Collective here in Dorking, deep in the Surrey Hills, to show you the Cannondale SuperSix Evo. This is a bike I've been trying to get my hands on for a while because I do think the frame shape is very interesting and I can't wait to share some of its features with you. In their marketing, they've kind of hailed this as the SL7 killer. And the reason being is that they've managed to take advantage of the UCI's new rules in terms of tube shaping, and I'm going to show them to you as well. So without further ado, we're going to start from top to bottom. Let's get you in close. Kicking it off from the top, we're going to go with the seat post, and they've clearly got a bit more depth compared to their old model here, or well, a lot more depth. It seems like 4 or 5 centimeters long there. I did ask if this was for compliance, but actually, I don't think it is there from compliance. It's just there to be part of the shape of it, but I think it's quite a cool little shape with a cutout in there. If I bring you to the front here, it's actually quite hard to capture on camera just how skinny these seat posts are. I'm going to try and get a video for you just so you can see where it really narrows at the top here. As we stay at the top, we're going to get to the stem, which is far more integrated without being bulky like the old one was. It actually looks a lot tidier now. And interestingly, the thing about this stem is that under here isn't a circular clamp, it's actually a triangle underneath here. I'll try and overlay some videos so you can see that. That triangular shape actually allows for the cabling routing to be much easier routed down the sides, so there's a lot less faff with the cables when working on this bike. Then with the top tube here, one thing I didn't realize is actually a lot of these edges are a little bit harder than I thought they were going to be when compared to other bikes. So actually there's a hard edge on the top here, and this edge going around here is also quite a hard edge. You can actually feel it quite prominently with your finger. As we move further down, you can see that they've also cut in at the back here. A lot of bikes end up cutting in there, and that just fills in a little bit more space. And of course, they've taken advantage of the rules by going extra deep here, but also keeping it very, very narrow at the back. Like I said, it's really hard to convey just how skinny the back of this bike is. I'm just going to bring you to this bike to actually show you. So it actually starts off really skinny here, and it starts to widen and widen, and I believe it's widening to protect and attach airflow to the wheel. And by the bottom you have this really wide D shape at the bottom here. That's wide and flat really. At the rear stays here, so Cannondale have actually done a smart thing which Specialized have implemented recently, and that's putting their attachments further back. So you can see it only starts to flare out towards the back third here. Apparently that makes it a little bit more aerodynamic. By the time you get back here on the bike, it doesn't make much difference, but it's something extra. The next thing that I find really interesting on this bike is that they haven't found they needed to keep more frame here. It's just almost cut out as we get to the wheel section. Obviously, it shows in their testing for this bike that that's aerodynamically just as fast, and I'd imagine it saves a little bit of weight as well. Another thing I've noticed compared to other bikes is that these sink in a lot deeper, closer to the wheel than most other bikes have. I've seen on the Canyon's new track bike does this as well, so there must be some aerodynamic advantage. And actually, I think having the wider frame there would also help stiffen up that cylinder. But yeah, it just attaches a lot closer to the wheel on the inside here. And if we bring ourselves to the front, they've tried to make it as deep as they possibly could. So they've got a hard edge here, but it actually softens as it goes around there. And the head tube is also very skinny, very slim as you look directly down. And you can see just how much the fork haunches out here, like a muscular shoulder. There is lots of space for tyre space in here, so you have 34 millimeters of clearance there, more than enough for a very fast road bike, and you can see what it looks like with a 25mm tyre on here. As we move further down, I believe this is for the old Di2 systems, if you still got the 11 speed like I do, but on the down tube here, it's a very D shape, so it literally looks almost exactly like a D with the hard edges here, and then of course you got your bottles there. And the front and the rear have 3 bolts, so you have lots of adjustability on where you want to put your bottles. Speaking of bottles, I'm going to bring you to the higher end model here. They do actually have some specific bottle cages that go with this bike, and they have a much skinnier bottle that slides in here, and it just keeps the airflow attached to the bottle and keeps it in line with the frame a lot more. If you want, these bottle cages do come with, they can use normal bottles in them, that's totally fine, but they do have a much more aero bottle if you want to use that as well. The bottom bracket now actually comes as a threaded bottom bracket. So if you live here in the UK and you know you're going to be going through bottom brackets in the salty weather, then it's a good thing. I think some people like it, some people don't, but I think it makes it a lot easier to maintain the bike. In terms of the wheels, they do come with Cannondale's hologram wheels, and these ones are 45mm deep. And it looks like they've taken a page out of Specialized book, because there's much more of a U shape in here. So if I try and get like more of a top-down view, that the width here is actually a lot wider than the tire, but there's this nice smooth curve into the U shape here. Interestingly though, Specialized have gone from more of a U shape at the front, more like this, but they have more of a V shape at the back, whereas the holograms are more of a U shape on both the front and the rear wheel. Just by the look of these wheels and tires, they have a 25mm on here right now, but you could quite comfortably get a 28 on there and it would still fit the profile of the wheel shape. The more top of the range Cannondales, I actually really like the paint jobs. I'm less of a fan, this is their 105 version. I don't really like this fluoro orange here. It's not my style with the grey chalk, but it might suit some of you, it's a personal thing. But when we get up to the Ultegra level, I actually really enjoy this paint job. I really love the pink down here, that contrast with the yellow and the teal blue. On this one here, they do have this like unique pattern sitting at the back, which once again, I quite like. It just gives your eye something to look at and shows off the shapes of the bike really well. I'm going to bring you to their top end frame because they do have a bar that they've made with Momo here, and it is as you would expect most modern handlebars today. It's narrow, it's flat, and it's really, really well integrated. But the thing I actually like most about this one is this chopped toe carbon look that you've got underneath here, and that carries on over the top tube. And because the seatbelt clamp underneath here, it's really dark, but I promise it's right there, keeps the top of this looking really, really sleek. So it has this really nice look as it narrows off to the back here. Another thing with the paint on this higher end model is you can actually see it goes from a nice gloss black into like a faded matte black. And that's quite impressive. I think that's actually quite hard to do, to fade a matte into a gloss. The Cannondale SuperSix Evo has been known to be a stiff frame. They've kept that lateral stiffness, but I believe they've actually managed to build in more compliance to this frame. I haven't been able to test that personally. Next up, this frame, whilst being far more aerodynamic and sharper in tube shape, is lighter than their old model. Well everyone, if I've missed anything out, make sure to let me know down below, because I would like to make sure all the information is there and I've put it in the description. This has been a close-up of the Cannondale SuperSix Evo, a very cool looking bike. Is it an SL7 killer? I'll leave that up to you. I've been Jason, this has been Cycling Unboxed. I'll see you in the next video.